welcome everyone to our hearings today. It is a council meeting. You just told me who's going to do the Karakia and I forgot already. Councillor Cranston, Karakia, thank you.
Morena tātou, ko tai mai te hōtaki. Karakia. Kia tauna na manaakitanga o te mea nā aro. Ki runga ki tēnā o mātou. Kia mahea te hua makihikihi. Kia toi te kupu, toi te mana, toi te aroa, toi te reo Māori. Kia tūturu ka whakamaua. Kia tina. Humie.
Thank you, Councillor Cranston. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our submitters as well today. I am going to open up with apologies. So welcome, Councillor Tibble online. We hope you feel better soon. Any apologies? None? Is everyone here? I think Councillor Parata might still be on her way. So what's that, Councillor Foster? Okay, so I'll move Councillor, Councillor Parata is away. She did email me, she's away for 2 weeks. Councillor Parata, I move as an apology. Seconded by Councillor Foster. All in favour? Contrary? Carried. Any declarations of interest? None. Governance work plan. Any leave of absence? Any acknowledgements or tributes? No public input. Extraordinary notice of business. No adjourned. Okay, let's all go to page 5, councillors. So, who's going to speak to this, Nadine? I'll open it up while we, I'll give a little oversight. So you go, or do you want me to? So what we are doing here today, you will be well aware that we had 3 waters that then became 10 waters, and now we have local water done well, where the government is expecting a plan from each authority by the 3rd of September to tell them how we plan to take care of the waters in our region. We've had workshops as a council before, we had public workshops as well. We have live stream, and in this paper you can see what we have done and what preferences there are. There we go, 250 printed, 2 drop-in, 509 radio promotions, 9 print ads, 35,000 people via Facebook, 204 submissions received. There was a postcard sent to 17,000 households, so everyone had the opportunity to take part, and I do thank everyone who has taken the opportunity to give us feedback on the 2 options we are looking at. And what we have today is members of the public coming to talk to us and just to share their thoughts if they prefer option 1 or option 2. So without further ado, Les, may I invite you forward, come and take a seat here and come and talk to us. Like I said to you earlier, this is an informal process. We are interested in your thoughts, what you think option 1 or option 2. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. As a property owner here, I'll try and cut it down as brief as I can. I could be here for over 2 hours.
Please don't. Just kidding.
Essentially, as far as the water side is concerned, we've got a property in Hillview Terrace, which is about 3 acres. On that property, the main sewer line passes through it, as well as the 450 diameter line to the reservoir, which there are easements in place for them. That's fine. There is sewage being discharged onto our property. I've notified the council 3 times at least in the last 18 months. I know it's sewage because I took a sample, had it checked by the laboratory. There's also chlorine in the water supply in another part, which will only come from this main pipeline. The road had a rupture in it about 18 months ago, 150 mil rise, they dug it up, and the pipe wasn't punctured or broken at that particular point, but the water was flowing that fast down it, you couldn't bucket it out. Put in a 100 mil line to let pressure out, covered it up. It hasn't ruptured there since, but 30 metres downhill the road subsided 150 mils. The road to do that is pretty major. It's right beside this pipeline. Where there's a bend in it, I'm pretty sure the water pressure builds up, blah, blah, blah. Now, 200 metres from that, on the other side of our property, we're back onto Argyle Street. The curb there doesn't have services under it. It raised 150 mils, notified the council. Did nothing. 2 weeks later, it's half a metre high now. Pushed up, big bump on the curb. It's not used by heavy traffic or anything like that. I've got 2 diggers down there, I could have drilled a hole, let the pressure out. Leave it, our subcontractors will fix it. That was over 18 months ago. It's causing the side of our properties to start subsiding in that particular area. The water sample I took from that had chlorine in it. There are no services there. It's coming from this line, from the reservoir, 200 metres away, possibly finding the volcanic ash from the Taupo eruption is about 800 mils down, following a fault line down and pressurising it coming out at this, push the road up that far. It's not a garden tap, does it? I'm a builder myself, I sort of have a little bit to do with stuff like this, and earthquake. Drama in Christchurch in the past and what have you. That's the main thing I can say. I won't go into the building department. That's another story.
So Liz, you in your submission you wrote that you prefer option 1. Yes. So you happy to talk to that, or are you happy to the written submission?
Well, I believe that the local council should be in control of things. However, it's not run along those lines here. They need someone in the government to oversee them. It's too much of a dictatorial attitude taken. That's my personal assumption of it.
Thank you. Any questions from councillors? I want councillors to be mindful. Your questions is about option 1 or option 2. What you spoke about here today, Les, when I caught up with the cuppa and discuss more of that, I want people to ask if you've got any questions of clarification, because these hearings are mostly about option 1, option 2. Right. Any questions of clarification of this? Ladies, thank you for taking the time. I'll touch base with you and we'll catch up.
Very good, thank you.
Take care. Thank you. Mr. Ming Foon, welcome. Long time no see. You've been in Africa since I've seen you. Did you love Karakia? Beautiful. Oh yes.
Best place.
Best place. Hi, good morning, Ming. Thank you for your well thought out written submission, which is right in front of you here, because I know you didn't bring notes. Oh, he did bring notes. Hi, the floor is yours for a few minutes. You support option 1 for your reasons, but we are here ready to listen to you.
Yeah, morena councillors, and me ki tēnā no tātou ki o tātou mate. Haere, huri rauna ki a tātou, morena. Awesome to see you all, your worship, councillors, chief executive and staff. Yep, I support strongly the council's staff's recommendation regarding option 1. Your mana in ensuring that you control and have direction of our waters is utmost. Your mana is your responsibility to our community as the voice, and where our community can come directly to the coalface rather than to a secondary organisation. There has been, you'll notice in Auckland now, they've realised that they do want their waters and their eroding back. They want to control the direction. You'll notice that every time if you're at arm's length, a public versus a private organisation, and even though it might be a CCO, your private organisation cannot borrow money as cheaply as the council. That's first and foremost, from a business point of view. They are there to make profit, and therefore they could add more charges to already a high rating community like ours. A little while ago, maybe must be 15 years ago, the council did an exercise and it found that Neville West and his team back those days were well below the operating costs of having it publicly farmed out to an organisation. So you're on the right track if you support the council's recommendation. There has been I think it might be Parapara Umu, that actually in the early days, in around about 2003-05, they did farm all the operations of their water out, 3 waters, and they found they lost control. And they just had to pay a huge sum to whoever was the contractor to get back the contract. So don't make that mistake, okay? But anyway, have a great day.
Thank you,
Awesome to see you all.
Thanks a lot.
I'll do your job. No questions.
Thank you. Yeah, you can see someone that's sat in this seat. Thank you. We'll see you again. Thank you. Beth, we're running very early. Are you ready? Pauline, Bella, morning. If you are ready, you can come to the front. Is everyone coming? Because we've got heaps of seats. We just need to roll them out. Teddy, one more seat. Oh no, yeah, one more seat. Yeah, all good. Good. Thanks, Teddy. Thanks, Teddy. Good morning. How are you? Good morning. Make yourselves at home. Like I said to our other presenters earlier, this is an informal process where we have received the written submissions from everyone, and today we have given members of the public the opportunity to share with us their thoughts on option 1 versus option 2. So without further ado, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Morena, morena everybody. Ngā mihi te whakau mō tēnei wā. Ai, ko tēnei te kōrero no ngā mahi o Maraitaha, ngai tāmanu hiri hoki. Today is about us sharing an extension to our story. And so we have made a submission, and I would just like to introduce our fabulous 4. Myself, I'm not going to introduce myself, you would know who I am, but more importantly, Beth Tūparakātini. Beth is a huge asset for us in this space, in our community, and for us as Maraitaha, and Beth will be presenting her proposal on our behalf to you all. Also, Pauline Hill. Pauline is our iwi chair for Ngai Tāmanihu, and we have a very strong relationship as Maraitaha and our iwi. And Tian Hooper, our rangatahi representative, and here to, that's all what we've got to share today. So without further ado, kia ora.
Kia ora koutou. I am, a little bit nervous, I suppose, when we do these things, but I'm assuming everyone has read our our submission. So I'm just going to sort of talk to maybe some other areas not specifically included in our submission, but Kia ora koutou, ko Betu Parakāpinga Hau. I'm a trustee of Marae Taha Incorporation, a Māori land entity whose whenua underpins Gisborne's water security and contributes to the water wellbeing of our waiwhenua and our communities. Marae Taha welcomes the opportunity to come and speak to you all and to provide our response, rather than submission, response on our the local water done well consultation. Marae Taha is made up of 1,413 shareholders who whakapapa tū mai tā manuhiri. We carry responsibilities not just as Māori landowners, but as kaitiki of the whenua and the wai that sustain our people in this region. As trustees, we speak from both of these positions. We come to this process in the spirit of partnership and acknowledge the working relationship that we have built with the Council through our Memorandum of Understanding, our shared strategy and its implementation. We also acknowledge the intent behind the local water done well model to improve services so they are more efficient, locally accountable and future-proofed. From our perspective, this can only be achieved if the model is built on the right foundations, recognising treaty obligations, Māori property rights and our deep and enduring connection to our water as taonga tuku iho. Both the Waitangi Tribunal and the Supreme Court have affirmed that Māori hold customary rights to water, rights that continue today and in the nature of ownership. These rights are protected under Te Tiriti o Waitangi. We also affirm that Marae Taha lands were taken under the Public Works Act for the development of regional water infrastructure, including Williams, Calcott and Sang dams. These sites now form a critical part of the city's municipal water supply. Yet our shareholders and whānau have long been excluded from the decision-making, governance and benefit streams associated with that infrastructure. We raise this not to dwell on the past injustices, but to ensure that the future models do not repeat the same assumptions. That council ownership and control are absolute, or that Māori can be brought in as an afterthought. We respectfully remind the council that the assumptions underpinning the current model and plan, particularly around ownership and control of water, are incorrect. Council cannot do this without us, not simply because we are affected parties, but because we are members of the iwi who are treaty partners and right holders. We hold a legitimate and enduring role in shaping and governing our freshwater systems. In our written submission, Marae Taha Incorporation clearly supported option 2, a council-controlled organisation. We believe this model offers the greatest potential to establish genuine treaty-based governance, embed te mana o te wai, create space for Māori landowners' participation in planning and investment, and deliver transparent ring-fence funding and future-focused infrastructure. That said, we acknowledge the financial constraints facing our region. If option 1 is selected in the short term, we recommend a clear and cost-effective pathway be developed to transition to option 2 when the timing is right. To ensure local water done well model delivers for all communities and upholds treaty obligations, regardless of which option is ultimately adopted, we make the following recommendations. Affirm and embed Māori rights and responsibilities to fresh water in all governance and service delivery arrangements. This includes recognising Māori ownership as affirmed by the Waitangi Tribunal and the Supreme Court. Establish robust governance arrangements that reflect the status of iwi as treaty partners. Under option 1, iwi must be formal partners in decision-making alongside council. Under option 2, iwi must have a role in appointing the board and the representation of it directly. Ensure Marae Taha Incorporation is actively involved in the co-development of the water services delivery strategy and the transition plan. Continue to partner with Marae Taha Incorporation in decision-making on the water service delivery model, the implementation plan and any future water tap proposal. Not merely through consultation, but through meaningful and shared decision-making. Uphold and give effect to te mana o te wai by protecting the Māori of of the freshwater catchments. This requires prioritising the health and well-being of our water bodies in all decisions and ensuring infrastructure development upholds their ecological integrity and cultural significance. Ensure safe and equitable rural drinking water through targeted investment. Rural communities such as Muriwai, Tawatapu and others must receive urgent infrastructure upgrades with equal priority to urban areas. Reforms must address disproportionate impacts on Māori communities and support papakainga, marae connectivity, climate resilience and whenua-based development. Rural needs must be enabled, not sidelined. And lastly, implement transparent reporting mechanisms that clearly show how funds are allocated and how outcomes align with te manawa te wai and equity for Māori communities. We stand ready to continue working alongside the Council to co-develop and co-design water services futures that reflect the unique context of Te Tai Rāwhiti and honours our shared obligations under Te Tiriti o Waitangi. Kia ora.
Any questions? I have a question. Can I have that document? Because that is different from your written submission. The stuff that you didn't in your written submission, wasn't it?
It doesn't go into...
Yeah, but I was quite interested in what you said there. If you're fine with that, I think I'll hang on to that and just read that again.
Yeah.
It's slightly different from your, which is perfect. You know, that is exactly what we want people to do in their written submission, is build on their written submission. So thank you for that. Any questions? Councillor Wharehinga.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Just wanted to check, Auntie Pauline, were you guys wanting to say something? And if not, I'll refer ask.
So we'd say that on behalf of our group, we totally support the submission, and we would obviously look at actioning it through the LLB.
But my question was actually around something that the Mayor highlighted. You had said something specifically about option 1, and could you just reread that piece to me again, please?
But when you said if option 1 is chosen, you know, have a transition path. Yeah, that's not in your written submission.
Yeah, option 1, something about iwi. I was trying to furiously scribble.
Oh, no.
I wasn't able to.
So under option 1, iwi must be formal partners in decision making alongside council.
Yeah, and then there was another thing about transition as well.
Yeah, so just being involved in the transition plan, so acknowledging that whatever option is chosen, that iwi are in partnership, and acknowledging that they will be slightly different depending on which option we go with. So if it's under the CCO, in terms of the establishment of the board, being involved in the appointment process of the board members, as well as being representatives on the board as well.
So just for my own clarity, you're saying that if, and correct me if I'm wrong, that in the event that it is option 1, that there'll be formal iwi involvement, and that you're supportive of the formal iwi involvement in option 1, and that you would want a marae taha, well, iwi-based involvement in terms of transition and kapai, just for clarity.
And just on that point too, is making clear that in terms of the treaty relationship, it sits with the iwi.
Yes.
And so that's the important thing here. Is we as marae taha incorporation, we are the landowners and we are members of the iwi. And so that's why it's important that we continue to work very closely with our iwi organisations.
Thank you, Beth.
Councillor Foster.
Thank you so much for your presentation, Beth. When you say a partnership and a governance arrangement, have you got any examples of how you would, you know, if option 1 was the chosen option, what example would you have of how that could look? Whether it be a committee, like Wastewater Management Committee, for instance, made up of 50% iwi, and I mean that as an example. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, absolutely, and that is one of the examples. I suppose one of the highest levels of participation or co-governance that exists is the Wastewater Committee, and again, it has come through a consent condition. So yes, if we are to go forward with option 1, there needs to be a formal group that is actually able to make those decisions. So it is a decision-making group that sits alongside council to do that.
Thank you.
And there's probably, like, LLB would be the other one, but I don't feel that one has got as much teeth as, say, the standing committee. So, yeah, ensuring that it's at the highest level of governance and participation in decision-making.
I'll just add to that.
Yeah.
So I would expect that that kind of arrangement would be something negotiated within the towns. Yeah. The detail would be what preempt those kinds of discussions. And that'd be one-to-one, not through the LLB.
Thanks a lot. We're going to take a break now because this is the end of our submissions. We will have a coffee because councillors, we've just had the paper in front of us. So I move that we just accept and note the report that we had. That's on page 6. Second by Councillor Wharehinga, all in favour, contrary, carried. Now we are going to move to our deliberations. Nadine, I'm going to hand over to you. Let me just find my page. I'm going to sneeze, so 81. Sneeze is gone.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, just as was mentioned at the beginning in terms of the hearings report, that over the period of April through to May, 17,000 households were reached in terms of providing some information around the options that Council was looking at. 204 submissions that we've got have been received. 90% are in favour of option 1, which is the modified in-house model, with only 10% supporting the option for a council-controlled organisation. Most of what we heard through the submissions that clearly pointed to council closer control was around affordability, the trust in local ownership, and a strong desire also for transparency and responsiveness. So with what you've got here in terms of the deliberations report is a recommendation to move forward with the modified in-house delivery model as a preferred option for inclusion in our water services delivery plan, which needs to be provided to central government or to DIA in September. So really the next steps are for council to confirm whether this is the option that you wish to go for, and then we will be looking to submit a water services delivery plan by the 1st of September.
Right, thank you. I am going to open the floor. If you have any, I've got Larry, Josh and Andy.
Thank you. I'm happy to move, but I do have a question. When we do the water services delivery, when you do the water services delivery plan, will that encompass the structure and everything of how this is going to be run within council? Is that part of the plan, or is that something that happens after?
So I might get Kevin to comment on what the details that are provided in that water services delivery plan. But insofar as it won't go to the full structure of what that would look like, we would need to work that through. But Kevin, I'm using other details.
Good morning, Your Worship, councillors. Yeah, the legislation requires, it lays out what has to be in the water services delivery plan. Part of it has to be an implementation plan for how you're going to give effect to what you've said you're going to do. So if it's the in-house model, how you'll give effect to the ring fencing inside a separate business unit inside the council. That's a very high-level implementation plan that essentially says at the moment that you will set up a project to do that ring fencing exercise and any associated organisational changes in the first half of 2027, so that it's in place before the plan takes effect on the 1st of July 2027. It's quite minimal changes at the technical level. Set up the internal business unit. The interesting question for you as a council that you've got time to think about between now and the project starting is how you would wish to govern that and how you would wish to include mana whenua in the governance of water? Do you want to do it through current structures and systems that the council has, that you have, or do you want to do something specific for water? And those are very much decisions for you that you've got time to work through.
So the other part of that, so when the 10-year plan is done next year, that'll certainly have a huge bearing on what the outcome of that structure will be.
Yeah, there will be multiple impacts on our 10-year plan, and particularly around what this looks like when we go through the exercise of ring fencing and making sure that we've covered so all revenue, expenditure, your debt, everything needs to be clearly defined within that group. And so, and additional costs that will come into the city, or those that are articulated in supply and those that aren't. So there's a whole lot of things that we'll be needing to work through that will have implications for our 10-year plan.
Because it's going to have to be a totally separate business entity within council that is self-sufficient, own funding, own debt, own government.
Well, the debt is still the debt of council as a whole, but we need to demonstrate that that's attributed to the services of that activity.
I'm happy to move on.
Thank you. Councillor Wharehinga.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. First off, I do want to acknowledge council staff for pulling all of this stuff together. But not only pulling all of this local water done well, kaupapa that's on our agenda here today, but everything from initially unwinding our in-council service, water service delivery, through to 3 waters, then 9 million waters, or whatever it ended up becoming, and then now back to council internal delivery. I really want to acknowledge all the hoops that you guys have jumped through. Also the submitters that have constantly fed into the multiple processes of these over the years and years that this has been a topic of discussion. I'm happy to second the paper. I think having our water run inside council is the best idea. I do want to acknowledge Maraitaha and Ngaita Manuhiri in that specific part where they spoke about that if there was an option 1, that there would need to be formal iwi engagement that recognised the te tiriti relationship. And like our operations advice has been, is that we then decide what the mana whenua governance looks like moving forward. That's not a discussion for today. You know, today we're discussing whether or not these services are delivered inside a CCO or inside of council. 100% they need to be done inside council, for the sole reason that it's why I've always thought all of our regional roads also needs to be delivered inside council. It's so that the public, Joe Public, is able to bail us up as the people that they've elected to go, hey, these are the things that are going on in our water. These are the things that are going on in regards to sewage and reticulation. And we can actively come in here and have a conversation about remedying those things. Having another layer just really weakens our position as elected members in order to be able to solve those issues out in the public. That's why I 100% second this paper after being moved by Councillor Foster. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Yeah, thanks. Looking at option 2, the only advantage I could see in it was having that absolute specific expertise on a governance board, which probably doesn't come through a council. But in saying that, there's no way of guarantee we do have that absolute expertise. Bearing in mind the offer of mana whenua and what they can contribute, I think that can be offered as a council entity as well. So that's why I went for option 1. With option 1, with it being affordable, being submitted as the most affordable option, I just was curious to know what level of government support we would have, because as an absolute council operation, it's actually not that affordable. You know, we've got millions in front of us. So is there still a level of government financial support that would be offered of that, or are we calling it affordable even without that support?
Your Worship, so the short answer to that is no, there's not likely to be any government support for council organisations that are going it as the business unit. going it alone. I think the whole purpose of this is to try and ensure that there is financial sustainability, and that we needed to have demonstrated that through our financial modelling, which is why it then goes to DIA to check the numbers and to make sure that our modelling and our assumptions all stack up. Or they will be, I don't know what kind of powers they might look to try and move us into a CCO if it didn't stack up for whatever reason. But the whole purpose is to ensure that it's sustainable going forward, that there's balance sheet separation, and that we can deliver, good, high quality water to our communities in such a way that we're not having to rely on government, central government, to prop us up.
I kind of knew that was going to be the answer, but I think calling it affordable, I think it's probably more sustainable, because affordability, how much of it are we going to do? If we're going to do every water requirement we need in this district, affordability is going to be a real challenge.
Thank you for that. Councillor Teddy Thompson.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to support option one. I think for most of us, and talking to the community, cost control, accountability were the biggest factors for everyone, and I think option one best ticks those boxes. Just got a question with our water services delivery plan. Will that come back to us before it's sent to government in September? Have a look at.
Yes, I'm getting yes nods. Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Ria, thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Some of the questions I was going to ask have already been answered, so maybe these are just, suggestions or things for us to think about. As a result of some of the community feedback, which support option 2, I do think there's some real valid contributions in there which we should consider moving forward. So, for example, sorry, I just lost my place. Concern over our ability to be able to effectively run the project without forking out extra money for consultants and specialists, that there be a dedicated team to this specific mahi, that it not get lumped in under a current department at the council, that there's actually, as we've discussed, it becomes its own entity within the council and people are solely dedicated to this kaupapa. I think too, our levels that are paying attention to some of the submissions, and then also last week having a hui with some of our mahaki whānau at a waihui, concerns over the Karakia wai, for example, where the drinking water meets regulation and it meets standard, but it's coming out of their tap looking like dirt, smelling like dirt, tasting like dirt. And I guarantee that none of us here would deem that to be acceptable, that that's the kind of water we would get out of our tap and drink it. So I realise that there are regulations and standards under the government, and I feel that if the council is to take it over, that we must be working towards making it better for our smaller communities. So that was some of the feedback. And then also, if there was, for example, to be an independent committee set up that included mana whenua, that mana whenua reflected the mga Poike Dam, the Maraitaha community, Ngāi Manuhiri Iwi, also the water we draw from the Waipawa River, and so the Waipawa mana whenua there, but also like we do in the TRMP, where we have 2 specialists, technical specialists who sit a part of that committee, and they actually give us really good sound technical advice, because that thing that we just heard, we don't know all of those nuts and bolts of the technicalities of providing water services. So a makeup of another community board within the council to help guide, shape and mould the governance in that space, I think would be really beneficial. So I think these things, I'm just saying them for consideration, and just to maybe help the conversation moving forward to carry out the functions of our water, our way under option 1. Kia ora.
Thank you for that. Councillor Telfer.
Yeah, I think we've got a golden opportunity to look. The public have spoken here that there's 90% of who has bothered to submit, but I also do feel, and I was originally for a CCO mainly because of the ability to way easier ring fence this project, which is stated as what needs to happen. So I think going forward we've got a great opportunity to set this up in a way to make sure that some of those concerns that were expressed, the reasons why to go to a CCO, are taken into account, because I think it is going to be a difficult thing to do, other than picking everyone up and putting them in a separate building. It's very easy just to jump over the fence and think this is being funded by the rest of council, which then those costs go on to the roading side of it and the other side of it. So we're going to be really interested to follow this through, how we actually do ring fence this.
Thank you. Councillor Gregory.
Thank you. I just got a question and something to say. Firstly, when this happens and we've got it in the council and they're running the water, will that mean they get all our ratepayers will then get water taken off their rates bill and it will come as a separate water bill? Is that correct?
Through your worship. It's exactly the same as what they have now, except at the back of your invoice you'll have what it is. So it's itemised with status quo. So it says what it is. The only parts that was different is in there where we have 10% of the cost for Three Waters is collected by general rate. Well, then it will no longer be a general rate. You have to actually collect it from the water entity. So each of those activities will say how much it is and how much the targeted rate on your individual invoice that you receive. So those that are not particularly added to the services will not see any of those costs because they're not here.
And so I just wanted to make it clear that even though we say that this option is the most affordable, by the time this is in place, it is going to mean an increase in the cost of the same water to the same house. Thank you very much to central government for that.
Councillor Tupara.
I think we have a huge opportunity here to uphold the mana of council. It's an opportunity for us to be good treaty partners. And I think we have a perfect model in the wastewater committee, which Councillor Foster pointed out during discussions. And whilst there is some question about whether or not the timing is right, I believe the timing is right for us to go to a CCO. And because those who submitted and spoke from an iwi perspective, while few, the message was very clear. And for that, I won't be supporting the motion put forward here. Kia ora.
Anyone else who wanted to speak? Councillor?
I'm the only one that hasn't spoke. So I feel I should say something.
You don't have to, but the floor is yours, bro. We've got time today, so I thought if you want to say something.
I agree for all the reasons given and I support the motion. Thank you.
You've got Rhonda.
Rhonda, welcome back after your travels. We're sorry to hear that you're unwell, but the floor is yours.
Morena, kia ora tātou katoa. Thank you very much, Your Worship. As you can hear, the flu is still very much with me. I can't turn the camera on, so my apologies. I don't know what I have to press to do that. What I normally do isn't. In relation to the paper that we're looking at the moment, I'm interested to understand part 3 of the recommendation says that it'll be by the 3rd of September that a water services delivery plan based on our modified in-house delivery model will be submitted to the Secretary for Local Government. How many opportunities will we get to see that before it's in its final form?
You will get the draft before it gets sent off.
Just through your worship, yes, on the back of the report on the page 100, it says the next steps. And at council on the 26th of this year, the Water Services Delivery Plan is to be adopted by council.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you. And I just wanted to say, I back the 90% support from those who submitted on this piece of work. I do have concerns, and I'm sure that when the Water Services Delivery Plan comes through, it will note these issues. And it's the space between the 175 of our budget moving up to 280, and understanding between currently being at 175 of debt to 280 at max that councils carry. What do we expect that this new piece of work in doing water services delivery plan will then do to our debt structuring? From 175, it'll end up where as a result of the new work that we'll do with this water services delivery plan? I don't expect that we might have the answer right now, but it is of deep concern to me to understand how much headroom we'll have after we go to put this into place.
Yep, Pauline can comment on that.
Through your worship, yes. The early indications with the models where we said we would probably be within that 3 years of the 3 water reforms, would be at the 160% of our 175% allowance, since we had a little bit of a headroom. What the requirements in terms of making sure that we are complying with the program, the capital and renewal programs, it will probably, at this stage, without anything else, the long-term plan, it will put us very near to the 175%. So that's what that is. That means we automatically do the next process, which is credit rated for facilities to allow us access to have the additional headroom. You control how much debt that we have through the plans and what we go out to the community, but that's the kind of the levels at this stage, what the difference of just looking at this in isolation.
Kia ora, I just want to mihi to Marae Taha Incorporation coming in today, along with the support of Ngai Tā Manuhiri, and also to bring to bear and in support of Councillor Cranston and Councillor Tupara, that we've got quite a number of facilities that show how we do sharing the space of governance at the moment across iwi inside Tūranga, and I just want to acknowledge that to date we're doing some really neat things in that space, as well as with the recent work with Tautanga Mahaki and Ngāti One while I was away. So kei te mihi atu kia tātou, including our Treaty Compass work that, in my view, we're amazing to lead what this looks like in a demograph that we enjoy here in the Tairāwhiti. Kia ora tātou.
I was not intending to speak because everyone spoke, but in the last minute, I have received a letter from the Minister of Government, the Honourable Simon Watts, and I feel I should read a few bits in there. I've just skimmed it, but it came through 30 seconds ago, and it's just financial sustainability of water services, writing to underline the importance of financial sustainability requirements and the new economic regulation regime under local water done well. I also want to take this opportunity to acknowledge the work you are doing to implement local waters done well in your area and to set up next steps. I understand your council have indicated a preference in your consultation materials for an enhanced status quo in-house modelling for delivering water services for your community. And then it's 3 pages, and I'm not going to read it all for you, but it's interesting that the minister might be listening. But anyway, it talks about that, but this is I've just skimmed it, so I'll read it and I'll send it on to everyone shortly. But he talks about, well, the department will be providing further guidance to councils about the plan assessment process later this month. There are a couple of key areas I want to emphasise in relation to financial sustainability at this stage in your plan development and decision making. So I'm just going to do the bullet points. Meeting financial sustainability requirements, and the Act defines financial sustainability. Long-term thinking and solutions, while your plans do 10 years, remember it can be longer term. Efficiency of water use and usage basically talks about charging for water, which is my expectation is that councils are considering all these tools as part of their future arrangements. Working together to address financial sustainability. I'm going to read this whole bullet point. Given there is no requirement for price harmonisation under the law, we've done well, I expect all councils to be actively considering working with and supporting their neighbouring councils, especially smaller and rural councils. So we have reached out, we hosted Wairua here last week. I've spoken to a Pōtiki, Whakatane. I feel at this stage everyone is doing their own thing with the opportunity then later, either in the in-house or the CCO model, if needed, to clump together. So we have shown, we've reached out, and we've had those discussions. You want to add to that?
Yeah, I do. So just through your worship, while it's highlighting doubling down on financial sustainability as a non-negotiable, economic regulation is coming. So for those of us with the business unit in-house, we need to be eyes wide open as to what that means. GDC will be a regulated supplier with mandatory information disclosure and price quality regulation, which we know. Performance benchmarking, which we're already aware is going to be happening not only in water but in everything that councils do. That we here in terms of begin to transition away from land and capital value-based water charges within the next 5 years and be moving to probably metering. Water metering is going to be seen as critical to demand management. And then just the collaboration points again.
There's blocks in here, and you do need to read it, because when I opened it initially, I thought it was just a letter to everyone, because it says Dear Mayor. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, there are 67 of those, but it is about us.
Just
so
business unit ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there will be no exception to the 3rd of September deadline for the water services.
He did say here, I do not intend to grant extensions to the deadline. We are really well on the way. When we met with Wairua, they just started their submissions on that day. Kevin?
Your Worship, he's I've received it as well. He sent a version of it to every council.
Right.
So it just is varied depending on what
Awesome.
understand your preferred approaches.
Right. It is a bit eerie though.
Yes.
But it is good. It is good. They've got their finger on the pulse. They're really serious about this, and we are really serious about it too. So it's wonderful that we have a really close working relationship as well with the Minister.
Can I just ask a question on the water metering? I know we've started that. How far down the track are we with that? Have we done most properties, or are we?
No, we have done no properties. Businesses are water metered already, but yeah, we had pushed it out to, I thought it was like 2027, 28 in our
It was
infrastructure
year
plan.
6 of our infrastructure of 30
6 years ago.
Yeah, so it will start.
Yeah, but houses have meters, like we've got a meter at our gate. It's just not used.
They're not connected.
No, but I mean, is that all over Gisborne?
So there's a rollout that will happen, but it's not at this stage. Leo?
The plan is that currently what is going in is backflow prevention, and they're enabling for meters, and then by 2032 is the program metering could be in homes that sits in that projected plan.
It will happen. Yeah. So we might have to bring it forward. A bit more, did you say?
No, we may need to bring it forward if we are going to be transitioning to volumetric charging in the next 5 years.
Hello, Tim.
Kia ora koutou, thank you. On the metering, I think the Minister's talking pretty generically about the challenges in the country, and particularly for jurisdictions that need to increase their water capacity, because that's where water metering is of most value. So we're going to bring our strategy to the governance unit, whatever that looks like, to discuss it, but it might not necessarily be a foot race to quickly do metering, because there might not be the financial benefit in doing that metering earlier than the dates that we're looking at, unless it was just going to be a revenue generator, when it's a different discussion then. But it does have a cost attached to it. We'll have to pay for a fleet of meters, whether it's doing providing us benefit or whether it isn't. So that's what we'll be bringing to the governance group.
Just a slight take on that though, is that we will need to be transitioned from our current rating approach, which is capital value or land, and there will need to be some mechanism of charge to do that. So whether it's another way of collecting it, whether water metering seems like the only practical way to do that, and we need to do that within the next 5 years, then we will be required to do that. There's no
because
other way.
note all the tools available, they will expect of us to investigate and either say yay or nay to all the tools. It is not open to you to decide. I think there will be there are clear expectations from the government on every council. Councillor Foster.
Yeah, I mean, we've been told that it's a fact that if you do have metering, you save 30% of your water consumption, because people are a lot more aware of the usage that they have if they know they're getting charged per litre or per whatever. So that's got to be a good thing. And I would imagine if you had charges on water metering, you'd have a set amount that you're allowed to have, and anything above that you could get charged for. And the other question is new houses that are put in at the moment, are they required to have meters yet, or is that still to come? Because you'd think that if you're going to introduce water metering, it would be a requirement on new houses already.
It's not rules yet. So Leo, new houses that are being built currently, is there an expectation on them to have water meters as part of their initial setup or not?
There is a requirement of them to have backflow prevention as it currently stands, which enables, as the system enables.
So they are proactively being... Any more questions or queries, discussions? So the way forward now, if you all go to page 83, so what we acknowledge here today is that we have heard from the public. I do want to acknowledge the 204 people who made formal submissions. I probably spoke to about 40, 50 people as well, and lots of those names were not on there, so I know through councillors and their discussions as well, they would have spoken to a few people. And then a biggie, Kevin, thank you. Kevin, Tim and myself, and Tim and Kevin and myself did some live streaming, and which was quite fun. But thank you for your support, thank you for your expertise, thank you also for the connections. And, you know, I read a letter and you read a letter and you put a different lens over it, and I really appreciate that. So thank you for your support on this journey with us. This journey has only started, but thank you very, very much for having our back as well. And then everyone involved in this is a huge thing for the Gisborne District Council. It's a huge thing for all councils. I want to feel positive about this because I have been through 3 waters. I have been through 10 waters. And it's taken a lot of energy, travel, consultation, time, just governance, time and money as well. So I really am positive about this. I'm impressed by how the government have clear expectations and what they want from us. I'm impressed by how our community are proud of what we have and they want us to do it the best possible way. So I feel positive about this. So next steps for us is, Nadine, you will prepare our plan. We will see it again before it goes. And then by the 3rd of September, that will be logged. Very interesting timing because it is right in the election period, but we'll see what comes out of that. We'll have that all sorted, and then we go from there. So I have a mover in Councillor Foster, I have a seconder in Councillor Wharehinga, and we have our recommendations on page 83. All in favour? Aye. Contrary? Carried. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, team. We're not going to break for coffee. Rob.
Time of dazzle.
Yours, mate. So just to give it a bit of context, we are part of the regional sector and we are part of rural and provincial. And I attend regional sector, Rob attends rural and provincial on my behalf. And we were together at a day in Wellington, which was called All of Government Day. And there were really, really interesting presentations, and Rob is going to share some of those with us. Is there a presentation here? So we'll get that set up, stretch your legs for 2 minutes, and then we can take a look. We're ready to go. Oh, you're just lining it up.
Nope, I'm here.
Okay.
Look, this is not really a presentation. It was just go to these meetings in Wellington, and quite often you have some speakers come in which are called in to speak about totally different things that are happening in the country. I found some of these speakers really, really interesting, and it's not often you hear a lot of positive stuff. We seem to sit in this room and we deal with all the negative stuff all the time and complaints, but I found some of this stuff quite interesting because I don't think the public in general understand some of the stuff that's going on out there and the position that we sit as a country. We're pretty damn good at knocking ourselves down all the time. So the first one here was, and I'm going to be very careful on this one, what I say, because we've got stuff going on in this community at the moment that involves us in. But this first presentation is I don't know if anyone's been down to the